This is Entrepreneurship 2. I'm Miss Tania Poveda. Welcome to this class. Good morning, everybody. Okay, it's very important you remember to download this information on your digital folder on your computer. So all the material that I send here is going to be sent in Educate 2, or you can watch the video whenever you want. Just remember to download all the information, and you can check it anytime. Let's start with a short review about what we have been studying lately. When we say different ways to get information from the market what are we talking about here? What are the different ways to get information from the market? Okay, it's good if you remember. When we talk about different ways to get information from the market, we're talking about investigation techniques. Do you remember how many techniques we're going to study this year? 3, 4, 5, or 6? Think about that. Let me know. It's very important we remember this information. All markets are different. You know now how to identify a market because of the age, gender, incomes, and all other information that you already know. So according to the market or according to the group of people, you are going to use the most accurate technique. It means the one that you can use with that specific market. For example, you already know what a survey is, right? It's a set of questions that you write down answers, you choose answers, etc. So something very important you need to know when talking about a survey is that your client or your market or possible client knows how to write and read. So for example, can you apply a survey to a group of children, maybe under 7 years old? No, right? Even they are clients for some types of products, you can't use a survey with them. But maybe you can use other technique that we're going to study later. Maybe interview, maybe observation. It depends on what we want to do. So again, let's read this. Use the most accurate technique according to the market. Each market is unique and different. So know your market first and choose the best one. Okay? Knowing this, we can continue. I asked you before how many investigation techniques do you remember we're going to study this year? 6. Surveys that we already did. Interviews. Today is the second part for interviews. Focus group. Observation. Product testing. And mystery shoppers. So you have 6 options for the 6 different markets. For more different markets, actually. Let's continue. Today is the second part of interview. Remember that we're talking about interview in a market research. This is not an interview for a job. That's something different. So keep that in mind. We're talking about investigation of the market. Questions that you can ask or you must ask during the interview when you want to know the reactions or the knowledge or the taste or the need or wants of clients, okay? So be careful with this. We're talking about interview for products or about products in a market research. We already studied this last week, but just in case it's some important information we must remember. So what is an interview in a market research? Gathering information through direct dialogue. Gathering information, putting information together, collecting information. So you collect information or you gather information through direct dialogue, speaking, talking, chatting. Why is it important to know the story? When we talk about the story, we're talking about the context of the user or the context of the client. We want to know the client because if we know the client, we know the market. So knowing the market is important, yes. Why? Why is it important to know the story? Because that will help you pull out information. Pull out is getting information. Ask about things that happen and behaviors. And this is something that we're going to study today about behaviors, because during an interview, you can get some more information that usually you don't get on a survey, because we can observe, we can see how the user reacts. So that's when we talk about behaviors. During the survey, you cannot see the client. It can be online, so you don't even know who you're talking to. But during an interview, you can. So you can observe more things than only the answers. After a question, being quiet is important. Why silence is important after asking a question? Well, in general, listening is much better than speaking. When you listen, you learn. When you speak, you teach. So, as we're investigators, we want to learn about the market. So, this silence is important because the interviewee, so the user, might be thinking, remembering an experience, or they didn't understand the question. So if you ask a question, keep quiet for a few seconds, observe the user reaction, and let the person takes their time to think. Do not interrupt the user. They must be remembering or thinking or trying to understand the question. And this is my favorite one because this is like the biggest mistake ever. 3 questions that you shouldn't ask in an interview. Let's suppose that you and I are having an interview right now. You never ask me, if you are the seller and I'm the user, you never ask me, will you use this product? Because I'm going to feel like, oh, I must say yes because you're going to feel bad. And you don't want people to say yes just because. You want people to be real, to tell you the truth. Because like that is you're going to know how your market is going to react. Would you pay for this product? That's kind of a tricky question. If you're my friend or my student, I'm going to say, yes, of course, because I want to help you. But if I don't know you, but I don't want to hurt you, so I'm going to say, yeah, why not? But in the bottom of my heart, I want to tell you no. So these are like the kind of questions that the user is going to feel like they must say yes. How much would you pay for this product? Come on. If I'm offering here something extremely expensive and I ask you how much would you pay, you will tell me $1 or $2. What if I want to sell you my cell phone right now? And I ask you, hey, how much would you pay for my cell phone? And okay, it's a second-hand cell phone. It's a good brand, kind of new. You really want it? And you're probably going to tell me, okay, what about $5? And I'm going to be like, what? That's not too much. Obviously, because you want a good thing by the lowest price. So this is a question that is really, really bad because the client is going to tell you always like get the cheapest one. Okay, so remember these 3 questions you will never use during an interview. And you are going to have an activity. You're going to have an interview with a classmate. So make sure you're not going to use these 3 questions, okay? Now, last class, we saw a video about a marketing expert telling us what an interview is and the questions we should ask and leading words and things like that. He also mentioned a very important marketing investigator, Michael Margolis. And Michael Margolis mentioned 16 tips to get a wonderful interview. Last class, we studied 8. Today is the second part. We are going to study the second 8. Okay, so we're going to study 8 more tips. Are you ready? Okay. So this is number 9. And I add these pictures here on the right so you can connect the tip with the picture here. Clarify. When in doubt, clarify. So when you're having an interview, you're going to find all kinds of personalities and knowledge and education. So make sure that you clearly understand what the user or the interviewee or the client means. Make sure that you and the other person are on the same channel, okay? Don't assume, don't think that you are right. You must listen first and make sure that both of you understood the question and you're talking about the same. And here's something that is really useful. Let's suppose that you are the investigator and you are talking to a client or to a user in this case. So you can use questions like, when you said whatever this person said, did you mean this? So in that way, you are making sure that what you think is what the other person thinks. So everybody will be talking about the same. So clarify, in case you don't understand something, of course. Tip number 10, answer questions with questions. Why is that? Why do you need to answer questions with questions? Usually people don't like things like that. When you ask, what time is it? You want to know the time, of course. You don't want someone to tell you like, why would you want to know the time? Or why don't you buy your own watch? You want the time. That's a simple question. So that's why it's very important you feel comfortable the user and let them know that the questions you're going to make are for you to know the right information you need for your investigation. And it's very important that the user feels like they want or that they understand the question and that they can do it by themselves. They need to feel useful. So make them feel helpful, and you can make them know like, hey, I'm going to ask you this question so you can understand better. And here again in the text we have like, how do you think that will work? Let's suppose that the client asks you, how do I use this? So you say, oh, I don't know, you tell me, how do you think that will work? Right? Because what you want as an investigator is to know, for example, if the product is easy to use. If you tell them how to use, you are not getting a good information from the client. So you have to find out. Other question is like, what else might you try? So after this, okay, what else might you try? What else would you do with this? How else can you use this product? How might you get assistance to figure this out? And things like that. Questions like that. These are only examples. Of course, you're going to learn on the way. It depends on the product, it depends on what you're talking about. Be patient. That's something very important. Make the user feel comfortable, etc. I love number 11 because it says keep it personal and concrete. It's much better that you say or you hear someone say, I do this, I think, or you are, you do, etc. If you talk about like in general, you don't feel attached to the situation. It's like just a situation, just something that happens. But when you use pronouns like I or you're making feel people attached. Like, what do you think about this product? How will you use this? What else can you do with this? You see, I'm using the word you and making you feel attached, connected to me, connected to the product. I'm making you feel useful because you are hearing my interview. You are going to tell me answers that are really important for me. Okay? So never say like, what do you think people think? Or why do people use this? Why do people do that? Why do people use this product this way? Why don't people buy it? It's like too general, and in the end, your answer will be like, I don't know. Also, you don't care because you're not the people, you are you. So make sure that during an interview, the other person, the user, feels comfortable and important. Okay, number 12, watch the time. As you can see here in this clock, it's very important you watch the time. If it's an interview like too long, believe me, it's going to be so boring for both of you, for you as an investigator and the other one as the user. It's going to be tiring, and because it's too much, the client or the user is going to tell you any answer like, okay, they want to go out, so they're going to say whatever that comes to their mind, and it's not going to be productive. You're going to get only wrong answers. Answers in a hurry. So calculate your time and very carefully watch the time. And here's an idea. Let me show you here. This person, Michael Margolis, suggests wear the watch on the inside of the wrist so you can easily see the time. So usually when we wear a watch, we have it on the outside of the wrist, on your arm. In this case, if you put your watch on the inside of your wrist, you can watch the time without making the universal I'm boring and checking the time gesture. If you do that, if you're watching at your watch or at your cell phone every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, or every minute, it's going to be like you're going to put too much pressure on the user, and the user is going to be like, okay, I'm doing this wrong, I'm taking too much time. And nobody wants to feel they are doing something wrong. Remember that you have to make the user feel comfortable and useful. So if you are watching the time every 5 minutes, you are going to make this person nervous and uncomfortable and useless, and you don't want that. So calculate your time and watch it carefully without putting too much pressure on the interviewee. Other thing you can do is to put a clock on the wall in front of you on the back of the interviewee. So you can watch it carefully when the client or user is not watching you. Okay? Don't pitch. Okay, when we're talking about pitch, look at the picture. You see, this person is like trying to get attention of everybody and using this headphone? No. Speaker, yeah. Using this speaker to get people's attention. Okay, don't do that. You don't need to convince the client that your product is the best. You are not selling the product, no yet. You are knowing the market. So if you present a new product, a new idea to a client, a possible user, and you say, hey, look at this, it's great, this is the best product ever, the person is going to feel positive and is going to tell you yes to everything and your product is wonderful because of the time. But in the end, you just get a good feedback about a product they don't know. So don't do that. Your product might be wrong and you must accept it. That's why you do a market research. So don't try to sell the product. Don't try to tell the client how to use it and how wonderful it is on the interview. The interview is to know what they think. So shut up and listen, like in number 14. Like in the picture here, it's very, very important that you listen the client's opinions. Extremely important. So here it says, check in occasionally to confirm that you are hearing your interviewee and not yourself, doing most of the talking. So let's suppose that you're having an interview, like an hour interview. Try to make it the client 50 minutes and you 10. Something like that. So maybe 8%, 20%. You don't speak too much, you listen. That's what you should do. Okay, 15. You probably have heard about this before, body language, tone, and facial expressions. And that's one of the advantages of interview. Because during an interview, you can watch people's eyes, gestures, movements, and you can read that much better than a paper. So in that way, you can know if the person is nervous, tired, bored, late, things like that. So you can ask the person about, okay, why are you worried about? Maybe the product is not too fun. It depends on the product, of course. Maybe this person had a problem just before the interview and is nervous. Or just sometimes people don't like being in a questionnaire, being in an interview, so they feel like really nervous and they don't know what to do. So because you're going to explain to the person what's going to do there, they're going to feel a little bit more comfortable. The last two lines are very important. Don't hesitate to ask what made them roll their eyes. You know, like in WhatsApp, you have rolling eyes. Why do you roll your eyes? What happened that made you roll your eyes? Sighs, laugh, frown, smeared, etc. Don't hesitate to ask about that. So why are you laughing? Probably this person remembers something funny about the product. And you can use that in your investigation. And finally, the last tip number 16, practice. Like any other skill, you need to practice. You have a mathematics exam, you practice. You have gymnastics, you practice. So make sure that you know all the questions you're going to make, and make sure that on the way you are going to change some questions and make new questions. And that's something that you're going to learn and get better and better with all the interviews coming into your life. Okay, with this we finish the 16 tips for an interview. Right now we're going to watch a video that is going to contain 5 parts or 5 acts. As we can see here, this is number 1, friendly welcome the user. That's the first thing you have to do. during an interview, you welcome the user. Hey, thanks for coming and accepting my invitation. I hope you feel comfortable. Let's work together. Thank you for coming, etc. Okay, that's what you do first. So listen carefully to this video. Watch it carefully, because after that, you're going to have a set of questions that I'm going to send to your email, to Educai. So after this, you can pause, watch again, whatever you need. But watch this carefully and pay attention on the 16 tips, because this is a really good example to have a good interview with a user. Are you ready? Okay, let's start.
You're going to put the customer at ease and describe a little bit about how the interview will work. This is how Michael does it.
Thanks so much for coming in and helping me with this.
Sure.
I really appreciate it. Have you done something like this before?
I haven't.
Okay. Maybe I'll explain a little bit kind of what I'm up to. So when we're developing new designs and new ideas and things like that, we get to a point where it's really valuable to get some fresh eyes and some fresh perspective on it. And so that's how I need your help.
Okay.
What I'd love to do is just spend some time chatting with you about some stuff. It's pretty casual. And then I'll show you some different designs and some ideas. I'll ask you a lot of questions, but I don't want it to feel like I'm testing you. I'm trying to figure out if these designs work, if they make sense, and so I'm testing the designs. And the way I'll do that is I'll show it to you and ask you to think aloud as you're looking at these. So I'm trying to see it through fresh eyes, see it through your eyes.
After the introduction, you'll probably be itching to bring out the prototype and see how your customer reacts, but not so fast. First, you want to learn a little bit about the customer. You're going to have a natural conversation in Act 2, but you're going to be asking some specific questions to learn some background info. So in this example, Michael wants to find out about the customer's exercise and fitness habits.
So maybe just for starters, can you tell me a little bit about the kind of work you do?
So I'm an executive assistant, and I've been doing that for about 8 or 9 years.
And so what does that involve? Like,
It
what's a day
involves
look like?
scheduling meetings, doing expenses, booking travel, and basically just making sure that the lives of my executives run smoothly.
It sounds like a busy day.
It's always a busy day.
Busy day. And what kinds of things do you do when you're not working? Do you have certain kinds of hobbies or things that you like to do outside?
Yeah, I like to go shopping. I like to hang out outside with my daughter, go to the playground with her, or go on a walk, hiking, things like that. Movies, hang out with friends, things like that.
And things like the hiking and the walking, are there other things like that that you do to take care of yourself, to keep in shape?
Yeah, I mean, I used to be a member of a gym, but I'm not now. And but I do like to stay active. So I like playing tennis, and that's basically the only sport that I play. But I do like to, like I said, go on walks or go for a run or things like that.
So after about 10 minutes of conversation, you'll be ready to bring out the prototype. In Act 3, you introduce the prototype, and you want to do it in such a way that the customer feels comfortable giving you frank and candid feedback about it. You want to make sure that they don't feel like they're being tested in any way.
What I want to show you, this is a prototype of another app. And so what that means is that some things will work and some things might not work. But we'll just kind of try it, and there's no way to break it or anything. So we'll just kind of try it. And again, like I mentioned before, what I'm doing is I'm testing the prototype and these designs. I'm not testing you. I'm going to be asking you all the questions,
Right.
but there's not a right or wrong answer. We're just going to try to, try it out and see how it goes, see what you think of it.
Sure.
And again, as we do that, if you think aloud, it really helps me kind of see it through your eyes as we try this out.
In the real world, your product will live on its own. You won't be there to guide customers along and tell them exactly what to do and how to use it. So in your interview, to get the most realistic results possible, in Act 4, you're just going to give the customer some tasks. And you're going to mostly watch what they do, occasionally asking questions just to encourage them to think aloud.
What would you do if you were looking for a new fitness app like we were doing before?
Just search the store.
Okay. So you see this featured app. Yeah, so maybe let's take a look at this one. Okay, so what's going on here? You're talking through this one.
Asking when you like to work out. So days of the week.
So for you, what would you choose?
I would choose probably Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And then asks for the time of day. Probably have to do in the evening. It's asking to send notifications. Okay. Put start profile. Name, height, weight, age, and fitness goals.
And what's this for?
Let's see, weight loss, muscle gain, strength, or overall.
So for you, what would you put in all this stuff, if anything?
So for the fitness goals?
For any of it, like what would you do with the screen?
So I would enter my height, I'm guessing feet and inches, my weight, which maybe I would lie a little bit, my age. I guess you shouldn't lie about your weight on a fitness app, but and then I'd probably select weight loss, maybe overall, because I don't really know what overall means, like if it means toning or stretching, things like that.
And what do you think each of these would mean?
So weight loss, you'll lose weight. Muscle gain, I figure you're going to get bigger muscles, which I don't really want. Strength, I kind of think is the same as muscle gain. At least I feel like the results would be the same. And overall, like I said, I don't really know what overall means.
At the end of the interview, you're going to ask the customer some debrief questions. So through the course of the first 4 acts, you'll have heard a lot, seen a lot of reactions. It can sometimes be hard to make sense of what's most important. In Act 5, when you ask these debrief questions, the customer will actually help you sift through everything you've heard.
So far as we've gone through this, I'm just kind of curious what you think of this.
I think it's interesting. I think it looks pretty cool. It's always nice to have someone or something telling you what to do in order to get the results that you want. So it's helpful to have it outlined like this. And they say, okay, do this many jumping jacks and then do this many push-ups. So it kind of lays it out pretty easily, I think.
And what do you think of the parts that you don't like as much?
I don't think it's a big deal, but I just think that there's maybe a few tweaks. Like I haven't seen a woman since the very first video. So that's kind of a market that I think they're losing out on there, unless this is going to be just tailored for men. Okay. But other than that, I think it's just kind of small tweaks.
Okay, so this is pretty much the end of the interview. I hope that you enjoy it. It's a really good interview, really good examples. You can go to YouTube and check other good interviews in marketing research that you can watch and learn. But which is more important is that you are learning to do it yourself. So what you have to do this at home, what you have to do now is to open this link here. This is going to be on your inbox, and answer the questions. As you can read here, watch the video as many times as you need to find out the answers, pause and rewind, whatever you need to complete the questionnaire. So this is the end of the interview. If you have any question, let me know. You can always text me or send me emails. I'll be there to answer all your questions and make sure that you are experts in market research. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.